Blizzard has finally told us how the new Crest updates are going to work, and it's pretty crazy, but for now, servers are down. My name is Swag, and this is the Vault Day Update. Blizzard did put out a pretty lengthy blog post on how the new crest system is going to work, so if you're interested, I will link it below, but I will try to summarize it for anyone who doesn't want to do a little reading. The hero and myth tracks have both been expanded, so prior, those were the shorter upgrade levels that you could get. Hero has been expanded by 2, while myth has been expanded by 1. But if you're thinking in terms of the current season, that would mean that hero would be able to upgrade to eye level 444, or if only myth was upgraded by 1, it would be able to go up to eye level 450. PvP gear now uses crests as well. It's going to be a little bit more complicated than the normal gear upgrade system with crests, but you will be able to earn crests and flight stones in PvP, and you can use them to upgrade your PvP gear. The crest cap has been lowered to 90, while it was previously 10 per crest. Now, you might be saying, that doesn't sound like it's lower. 90 is higher than 10. And I agree. I read it like 4 times. I was like, what is going on? And that is because crest fragments no longer exist in the new season. You will just earn crests directly. And instead of using 1 crest for an upgrade, you will use 15 crests, just like how you used 15 crest fragments to make 1 crest for an upgrade. They just kind of simplified a little bit, 1 less item in the chain. So previously, you could earn 150 fragments, turn those into 10 crests. Now you can only earn 90 crests. What does that all mean? It's actually pretty simple. That means you get 6 upgrades per crest now, whereas before you were able to get 10 upgrades per crest each week. This is a progressive system, which means that week 1, you will be able to earn 90 crests. However, week 2, you could then earn 180 crests. And if you didn't earn any crests or only partial crests that first week, you can still earn upwards of 180 by the end of the second week, and then 270 by the end of the third week. Every week it stacks. So if by week 3 you decide you want to play a different character, they're not starting at that 90 crest limit. They're actually beginning at that 270 crest limit. This is all to make gearing alts just a little bit easier and not punishing players for starting late or changing the direction of how they want to play. And the biggest news that came out is that crests can be upgraded. Blizzard has been hinting at this for a little bit, and I've personally been a bit against it, as I think that players' gear should represent the type of content they do. I don't mythic raid. Maybe I will one day, but right now I don't mythic raid. So why would I receive mythic raid gear, or why even would I need mythic raid gear if I'm not doing that content anyways? I like the idea of being rewarded for challenging yourself, and I do get rewarded. I just don't get rewarded at the same degree as somebody who's possibly working harder than I do. So when they announced the crest upgrade system, I was very skeptical and kind of against it. I was pretty vocally against it, if I'm going to be honest. But after reading how the system's going to work, I'm pretty happy with it. I think it's going to be a good change. So there's a few things that are worth mentioning with the crests and how the upgrade system is going to work. First of all, you cannot upgrade your crests until that type of crest is no longer needed. So if I am upgrading my weapon only, and all of a sudden I need Drake crests, I cannot simply start upgrading to Drake crests until all of my gear is past the whelpling stage. So you can't just target one piece of gear and push that piece of gear up alone. All of your gear has to equally rise, which slows down that process. Also, in order to create a crest at a higher level, it will take 6 crests to do the upgrade, and it will only upgrade to 1 level higher. That means you're going to see exponential growth as you try to push up. It will never be worthwhile to try and push whelpling crests all the way up to an aspect crest, because, man, that would be crazy numbers right there. I don't even want to try and do the number crunch while I'm on camera here, but it's going to be, 6 crests for that first one, which isn't even a full upgrade rate, but let's say you can do 6 crests for 1 crest, and then that next is going to be, 6 more of those crests which were upgraded. So if you want to upgrade a whelpling crest all the way up to So if you want to upgrade your whelpling crests into worm crests, for example, it is going to be 36 crests just to make 1. And you're going to have to still go through the Drake, right? So you're going to make 6 to 1 for Drake, and then you're going to need to make 6 Drakes, so that's going to take 36 crests, which will then take 6 of those Drakes to make a worm crest. It's just not reasonable to upgrade beyond just 1 above. If you try to go higher than that, it's not really worthwhile. And what really slows that process down is that it counts for both crest caps that week. So if you are a player running higher keys, you will not be incentivized to run lower keys in order to get crests. If you're doing this method, you actually have less crests available to you every week. With those things in mind, I do think this is probably a pretty good system. It does help players push above maybe what they're doing. It's not going to get a player running 5s into, mythic raid quality gear, but it might help push them just above where they're at to be able to try some harder content and challenge themselves a little bit. But let's say you're running 15s and your friend's running 5s and they ask for your help. Well, it's not a waste of time for you to go help them. Or if your guild wants you to jump in on normal raid with them, but you only really raid heroic, this would still give you a chance to get a possible upgrade in the future for helping out your friends. This is the final week for Turbulent Time Waste. Take advantage of the massive XP boost and the heroic raid gear that you get for completing 5 time walking dungeons. And because it's a Wrath of the Lich King week, that means Ulduar is now available as a time walking raid. My guild will be running it Friday night, and I think there's a good chance, I might just stream it on my Twitch channel. So, of course, you can always follow me on Twitch as well. There's a link down in the description. Dawn of the Infinite has been nerfed on the PTR pretty heavily. A lot of players, including myself, have been kind of concerned because as fun as that dungeon is, it might not translate very well into a timed key where players don't want to sit around and deal with stuff, or mechanics are too difficult, especially because every other dungeon is returning. And so we want to make sure that the Dawn of the Infinite isn't significantly harder than all of the old returning keys that we will be playing. Blizzard tweeted out some photos of props they're building for the BlizzCon, and while some of them look very Dragon Isles-esque, there are these rings that have me quite confused. I haven't really seen them anywhere before. They vaguely kind of look like Dawn of the Infinite Spire symbols, but even though there's some vague similarities, they're actually very different in appearance and too far off from how they actually look for me to think that Blizzard's going that route for their design for BlizzCon. I do wonder if these are maybe foreign dwarven runes. We've been predicting dwarves will have a big role to play in the next expansion. I really hope they do. Otherwise, I will look like a fool. And I'm going to lean into and say that this is possibly some props that they're building as they promote the new expansion. Get ready to move this week because dungeon affixes are tyrannical, volcanic, and sanguine. Volcanic will put little volcanoes under your feet. You just got to move out of the way before they throw you up in the air and deal damage. Sanguine, on the other hand, will drop puddles of blood on the ground every time an enemy is killed. If you stand in the puddle, you take significant damage. And if the enemy stands in the puddle, they will be healed. So, tanks, keep on moving, and DPS healers, you got to move a little bit too for that volcanic. And that's everything happening this week in the World of Warcraft. If you want to stay up to date with our community and everything going on, there is a link to my Discord down below. Come say hi, introduce yourself, and even feel free to ask questions that you'd like to see answered on future videos.